Jim Nantz from CBS. Hello, friends. Joining us live from Texas, getting ready for the Final Four this weekend. Then he spins around and he's got Augusta after that. Let's say you couldn't do both, Jim, and you had to decide, Masters or the Final Four. Which one are you taking?
You know, what I'd like to have actually more than anything is a pro day for broadcasters. I don't know how they would do it, but have the guys out there like Sean McManus, all put us in a room maybe in Indianapolis and, grabbing tennis balls and jumping to the ceiling. And I'm not answering that question, my friend. Come on. That is impossible to ask. It's like asking a parent which one's your favorite child. You can't answer that.
I do it. I tell
you do?
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I tell my kids which one's my favorite. I think the Masters, you're so identified with the Masters, even though you've been doing the Final Four for how many years now?
Was my 29th Final Four.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm coming full circle this week, Dan. My first Final Four, I was the host, and Brent and Billy Musburger and Packer were calling the game, but I was the host inside Reunion Arena in Dallas. So now here we are back in Dallas for the first time for this event.
How nervous were you that day?
Oh, my gosh. It was crazy.
Most nervous?
Actually, I started to kind of get those feelings. I'm staying in the same hotel that we did back in 1986, and I can remember showing up here and absolutely frightened out of my mind. Like, why in the world? Of course, I had this outer presentation that I was just Mr. Cool. I can handle this. This is no big deal. Internally, I was like screaming inside my head, what are they doing here? Don't they know I'm 26 and I'm about to go in prime time here and host the Final Four? But, hey, it was all a thrill. I will tell you, though, my biggest memory of it is one with a little bit of regret, more than a tinge of regret. My father drove up for the Friday open practice. They have the practices for the public.
Yep.
And he came to Reunion Arena, and he sat just off to the side of our little studio makeshift set that was inside of the arena, and he watched us kind of run through the elements of the show, and he was just beaming with pride. His eyes never left me. And the practice ended, and he got back in the car and drove back to Houston, 500 miles round trip in the day. And that night I was attending an event with my new CBS colleagues and the NCAA out at South Fork, where the Ewings lived, in the old Dallas show. And it was a get-together, and I'm kind of new at this, and our legendary director, Bob Fishman, comes over and says, hey, is your dad with us tonight? Nice to meet him earlier today. And I said, no, he's just driving on back to Houston. He said, well, why isn't he staying for the games? And I said, he didn't have a ticket. He said, well, did you ask for a ticket? And I said, well, no, I didn't know I could ask for a ticket. He said, you're hosting the Final Four on CBS. Look, they would have gladly given you a ticket. And, I just chalk it up as one I wish I could do over all these years later. I've always thought about it. My poor dad drove 500 miles just to come up and see his son, and I didn't even know that at that point in my life, I was so naive and young, I didn't even know I could ask for a ticket.
It's Jim Nantz from CBS. Final Four coming up this weekend. And, of course, next week we'll start the Jim Nantz Sound-Alike contest. Do you want to enter?
What are the prizes?
Respect. We have a lot of respect.
I could use that, so maybe I will.
I have a Callaway driver.
Got to be Titleist, my man. Hey, serious clubs for serious golfers. Titleist, the number one ball in golf. Come on. You may have heard that before.
Yes, I did, on CBS.
I didn't need to burn your sponsor there, my man.
It's okay. I think with my Callaway clubs, you with your Titleist clubs,
I
think I'll own you.
A Callaway driver. I mean, I have total respect for all the folks over there, most of whom I know. I'm also a very loyal Wally Uline man.
All right, nothing wrong with that. But we're going to do the Jim Nantz Sound-Alike contest.
Okay, well, what do you got to do?
It's just the opening of the Masters on CBS. That's all. It's just, I'm trying to get people to capture the moment. You got, 35, 40 seconds. Bring me in. Welcome me in.
Yeah, I hope you do this with the Augusta melody underneath.
Always. Seton, you got the Augusta melody? Oh, here it is. And my voice always goes down a little lower when I hear this.
It's instincts. It naturally happens. And that's the first time I've heard that beautiful piece of music since last year's Masters tournament. So you got me fired up.
Are those birds really there, Jim?
They're really there. They are truly there. They are my friends.
Do you have like a bird cage there that's right there in the 18th tower? Hello, friends.
They are truly there, and they can't wait for the world to get there next week. It's going to be some event, though.
Now, you have Tiger not being there. From a TV perspective, how much of an impact will that have?
Are you talking ratings?
Yes.
You're asking the wrong guy. I mean, they don't ask me to crunch numbers or extrapolate, all this kind of data out of these numbers. I think the obvious answer is that Tiger draws a lot of people to the television set. Now, how does it affect my world?
Yeah.
In terms of like how I'm going to present the Masters or how excited I'm going to be about the Masters, not one bit. And I don't say that out of any disrespect to anyone, but that is not my job. I don't have to deal. Maybe I do indirectly, but I am not going to tailor any broadcast thinking about how many people are watching. I mean, it's the Masters, or it's the Final Four, or it's a regular season NFL game. You still do it the same way. Now, it does feel very strange knowing we're going into next week and Tiger's not going to be there, and I feel very badly for him. I mean, here you are, coming off a year where you won a ton of times, but you didn't win a major, and I know how much his whole career has been built around these 4 events in a year, and it's just it's really sad to see that on the eve, if you will, of the Masters tournament, he has to go under the knife, no matter how much you try to spin it and say it was just a procedure, or he'll be back in a couple of months, or it's a difficult thing to accept. You just don't get that many swings at the plate. I mean,
well, back surgery is different than knee surgery, it just once you go to the back, as your friend Freddie Couples would tell you. I mean, it's hard to come back and be better after surgery like that. But Tiger said, he needed to do it. We had Nota Begay on yesterday, his good friend, and I asked him, I said, if Tiger doesn't win a major in the next 2 years, is Jack's record safe? And he said yes. He
did.
What do you think?
Well, I think his career, even with all of these knee, neck, Achilles, and now back issues, I do think he's going to be able to compete at a high level when his health is good until he's 50. So
I don't know if he's
I'm
going
not
to be
going
healthy.
to say, boom, this is the cutoff point. It has to happen by 2016. I don't see it that way. I look at it, how many more times is he going to get a crack at it? And I think he's got 40 more majors to compete in. So can he win 4 out of 40? Absolutely. Or 5 to break the record. It's going to be interesting. We're going to go into the Masters tournament, and this is going to be the story that's going to dwarf all others. But I do think that when you get to the competition over the weekend, this is going to be a tournament, and I say this with total respect to Tiger. We saw how obviously his back was affecting his play so far this year. I don't think he was going to win it this year. I mean, I think that's fair to say. We never know. He might have caught magic next week if his back was able to hold up. We've seen some third-round action at Doral and at the Honda Classic where, he showed flashes of brilliance. But, I think that this is not going to be a Masters tournament where someone's going to win and they're going to put a giant asterisk next to his name.
Well, they didn't do
is.
that to Padraig Harrington, when he won his majors.
Different time. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
That was 2008.
Yeah.
And he won the next 2 majors that Tiger didn't compete in. And we're all sitting there saying, well, Tiger would have won these 2 because Tiger had just won Torrey Pines on one leg in June of 2008. So it was natural to think, wow, this leaves you wondering what it would have been like. I'm not sure that's going to be the case, just given the fact that Tiger recently hasn't been healthy, has been playing well. I think this was setting up to be a Masters that some 20-year-old kid was going to win.
Well, the course is always the star. I mean, you have actors on a stage, and if Phil's not there, Tiger's not there, there's still going to be great storylines. Will Ferrell spoke about you the other day. Did you hear this?
I haven't heard it, but I've definitely heard about it.
Okay, here's a little bit of Will Ferrell talking about Jim Nantz.
Jim Nantz's voice is extremely melodic. In fact, I've made a relaxation tape of just Jim Nantz play-by-play of the Masters. If ever I'm stressed out after a long workday, if I need to relax and go into a deep slumber, I'll play Jim Nantz from the Masters. Any year, it doesn't matter.
What do you think? I think you could go into making some tapes for people who are, transcendental meditation type things.
It's one of the great coincidences of all time. Before I ever go onto the air, I actually play a Will Ferrell tape on, on my iPod. What an honor. I love Will Ferrell. I do. And the only thing that was missing there, we needed the Augusta theme behind that. And it actually was sounding like he might be an award winner next week on your Sound Alike contest.
Well, have fun, obviously, this weekend, and certainly at Augusta. Always great to talk to you.
Dan, you're the man.
Thank you.
I love watching and listening. Thank you, pal.
Thank you, Jim. That's Jim Nantz.